Good morning, listeners. Welcome to another Thursday morning episode of More About Storytelling. On today's episode, we speak with the absolutely awesome Andrew Buckley, and you get to listen to me talk about the stresses and excitement of launching my very first Kickstarter. Let's go. Once upon a time,
in a galaxy far, far away, it was a dark and stormy night.
Gather round, my friends. Let me tell you a story. There were many amazing things that happened to me after my appearance at Enderby LitCon in Enderby, British Columbia a couple years back. Not just the networking, but the experiences that I had when I was there speaking in panels for the first time, being asked very thoughtful and intelligent questions about my writing process, my world building, my approach to marketing, and so on. But some of the most memorable things, obviously, the most memorable parts of being at that convention and, workshop as it is the networking, the people that I've met, the friends that I've made there, such as Ocean and Lindsay and Andrew Buckley, who's today's guest on the show. But before we jump into speaking with Andrew about his amazing career and some of his awesome things to do with writing and storytelling in general, I just want to touch on, I just started a Kickstarter campaign. It's the first one I've ever done in my life. It doesn't go live until the 1st of April, but the pre-launch page is up. And I got to tell you, it is a surreal experience for me. It really is. Like, I would say 2 parts fear and 1 part excitement, or maybe it's the other way around. I can never really be sure from moment to moment, but either way, it's an exhilarating experience to put yourself out there that way and, to do a campaign, to do a fundraiser, to try to scream to the world about why people should part with their hard-earned money for your project. And, not just the books and the storytelling that I'm doing, but also the marketing and the swag and all the fun stuff that comes with it. It's fun, and whether or not I'm successful with my campaign or anything like that, I'm looking forward to the experience, honestly, just because, like I said, it's fun. I'm just trying to have fun. I'm trying to reach a new audience. I'm trying to get my name out there and explore beyond my comfort zone when it comes to the Cloudbreakers universe. So if you find me on Kickstarter, the campaign is for Peregrine. So Peregrine Book 2, Cloudbreakers Book 2 by Kenton J. Moore. I'll show up. The pre-launch page is live now. Campaign goes live April 1st. Got some cool swag, cool stuff to share, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But that being said, let's jump into speaking with a guy who has literally done what all authors dream of doing, and that is make a full-time career out of his storytelling. And let's have a chat with Andrew Buckley. All right, round 2. Hello, Andrew Buckley. We kind of already did intros and had a little fun before realizing that the record button wasn't started. But hey, man, how you doing? Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you for having me, Kenton. It's great to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we were just before I made my mistake and realized I hadn't hit the big blue-green button here that you were saying you don't get to join a lot of podcasts because you're too busy with your own.
A Story Century kind of sucks up all of that time space that I would normally spend. I say I don't do many. I don't. I was on a couple last year and a couple the year before, but it's rare. It's Story Centric puts out about 25 episodes a year, and so that kind of sucks up the time.
Wow, that's awesome. What an honor then that you joined me. Yay.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate it.
Wow. So what a journey it's been. I just got to say, how cool is it that, we met at the first Enderby LitCon where we got to share a stage together as part of a panel. And then again last year, too. Wow.
Yeah. Was that the first time we met, though, Kenton? I thought we met before that, didn't we? I've known you for
I
a
feel
few
like I've
years.
known you forever. Yeah, maybe I think we've been following each other online or something, or
Maybe.
chatted. But yeah, I think the first time I ever met you in person was at the first Enderby.
Okay, that's entirely possible. I can't. It all kind of blurs together in the end, and you meet cool people, and then you do feel, even though like you and I only see each other in person maybe once or twice a year, you still kind of feel, you know each other really well. So
Yeah,
it does blur the timelines a little bit.
yeah. Well, you're so busy with social media and stuff too that it's awesome to know everything that you get up to, because I watched everything with your comic with. Geez, I should have had it in front of me, man. I'm almost embarrassed that I'm going to forget this. Night Terror.
That's Night Terror. Yeah, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and a movie is coming.
Yeah, the movie is shot. The movie is in post production right now. It goes for final score and VFX, I think, right now at the moment this week, and then it should be locked in. Hopefully for the next 3 weeks, because then it goes to film festivals, and the premiere is hopefully going to be in the fall. So
Ooh.
we'll see how all that transpires. But in the meantime, George, who I co-wrote it with, and George directed the film, we're currently writing Night Terror 2 and Night Terror 3 back to back. So we'll be
Yes.
it's keeping us busy.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So I got to ask, because I have the comic. I got it from you last year at Enderby, and I absolutely love it. How much of the show, the comic, made it into the movie?
Everything that's in the comic is in the movie. Like literally
Amazing.
everything. And I know the weird kind of. Can I swear on this podcast? Do you have a?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, the weird kind of shit that is in the comic, we did manage to translate to the movie, because we wrote this. The screenplay was written first. The comic book was written after that as a part of the sales pitch for the movie.
Really?
And yeah, we did it. We did it an interesting way around, and it worked really well. But then we had a really interesting framework. I mean, the movie obviously has more in it than the comic book, but yeah, pretty much all the weird crap that's in there, it made it into the movie. So.
Man, you have no idea how excited I am to see this on the stream, man. Like, where's the premiere going to be? Are you doing it in like Vernon or Kelowna or something?
It's not going to be, well, I don't think I could even say, but it's not going to be in this province.
Oh,
So unfortunately,
boo,
there might end up being like some local ones after the premiere is done, but yeah, the actual the first showing will probably be somewhere else.
Oh, that's so cool, man. So I got to ask, because I know how I felt when it happened to me, but what was it like to see your name in credits? Is this
It
the first
was
time?
in a movie. Yeah, I mean, I worked in the film industry for a while, but nothing that was really highly creditable. This was, I don't know, it's interesting to kind of see it. It's not even the credits part of it. I mean, it's cool to see your name attached to it, but honestly, the experience of seeing people say lines and jokes and stuff that you wrote, like that is crazy. Like
Okay.
that part of the experience was wild.
Yeah, I can feel you on that one. Even though most of my writing that ever made it to film was just like short films and stuff, but
Mhm.
I wrote a little skit once that was filmed for the Prima, like Peace River Media Arts people. They were doing a training thing, and they had me write a short little screenplay,
Oh,
and it
cool.
was awesome because I got to see my brother acting in it. So
That's
that was
wild.
fun. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
fun.
but that experience, right? I mean, it is interesting that you put it down on paper, and just like any author of anything, you have an idea of what it's going to look like in your brain, right? Or like but then when it is actually transitional media like film, where you write it and then somebody else picks it up and takes those characters and does what they did with them, it's so crazy to see. Like, and some of the stuff that
Yeah.
we wrote, I mean, you having read the comic book, we have some pretty crazy ass lines in there, and watching
Yeah.
serious actors read those lines is just a point of hilarity for my childlike brain.
Oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine, because like I was going to try to relate to you when you said that about holding things in your hand. Like, so you've done novels, you've done comics, now you've got a movie coming out and all that. Which of them do you think was the most, like, had the most impact on you to see brought to life?
Man, that's a good question. It is the movie, but not for the obvious reasons. I started out wanting to work in film years and years ago, like turn of the century, 19 years old. I just emigrated to Canada. I went to Vancouver Film School with the intention to write for film and television, and did for a few years, and then hated the industry so much that I got out of it and turned to novel writing. And that's where my career was built. And I never had any intention of going back to film until George McHale, my friend, we jammed on a comic book, and then he had this idea for a movie, but he never written a screenplay before, and so he asked if I would work on it with him, and that's where Night Terror came from. And I honestly, I was still hesitant through the entire process to the point where at some point in some existence we were going to co-direct this thing, and then I was like, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to. I'm not production. I love to write them. Like, it's one of my favorite mediums to write in, but it's not my jam for the production side. So while it was great to be on set and help out and stuff, it's just not really my thing. But the realization of that, and the fact, and all the credit to George for pushing that thing into what it became and getting into production, like it was crazy to see it happen. And it's crazy to have that credit and to actually write. I mean, people write screenplays all the time. They don't necessarily get to see them turned into a movie. That's a surreal freaking experience. So that one's been impactful. I mean, out of the, like, I don't know, 7, 8 novels or however many I've published at this point, I mean, those are all great and amazing, but it's the transitional nature of film and the fact that I'm a huge freaking movie geek. Like, just to see something I wrote turned into a movie is just wild.
Yeah, dream come true, right?
It really is.
Every time I talk about my steampunk novels around my mom, that's what she always says. I mean, of course, she's my mom. She's my biggest fan, right? But
of course,
she's always saying the same thing. Like, I could just see this being a cartoon or a movie. And I'm like, yeah, maybe.
But I mean, I also don't want to understate the amount of work.
Oh yeah.
There's a story-centric episode coming out in a couple of weeks where George and I sit down probably for the first time and record and talk about the film experience and what it took to get it there. And it's pretty ridiculous. I had the easy job. He had the he had the uphill battle. It's insane to get movies made these days.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. Even with all the technology and everything that's available for indie film, I mean, like, even I have an actress friend who's done a lot of Hallmark movies, and she asked me, like, if I could do like a 30-minute short film to help her film for part of her reel, right? Like for her portfolio reel. And it was like one horse, a quad, a farming, somewhere, and her, and somebody to play her dad. And it was like next to impossible to find just the location, the people, the money to do that. It's crazy, even on a low scale like that.
Well, there is that part of it. And when we wrote Night Terror, it was the intention that it would be shot and not sold. So it was, we were a little bit budget conscious, but really didn't also have a concept of what things cost either. So, there was still that. But writing Night Terror 2, like, we're going through these scenes, I'm like, man, this is going to be expensive. This is going to be a pricey movie. But the best example I have is doing some freelance work for a company out east a couple of years ago. They wanted a corporate video, but a fun one that showed their corporate structure, because they were boring. Like, they made, the parts, the little pieces that go on into computers that no one thinks about, they made those. So super boring subject matter, but they're a German company, and they really want in Canada, and they really wanted to emphasize what a great place it is to work. So I wrote this crazy script for them that really played into German stereotypes.
Oh no,
with lederhosen and like those kind of things, and we had like, and the original script had a live pig in it that they were going to barbecue but ran away, and then every so often in a shot a live pig would run across through the background with someone chasing it, and we couldn't get the live pig because of lots of different reasons. So
PETA outside with their flag.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out, and sometimes you put stuff in the script that isn't going to make it, but to our credit, everything went into Night Terror regardless of whether it was possible or not.
Yeah, like again, having read the comic, I can't wait. And like for the listeners, get the comic, man. Just find the comic, look it up. Night, but spelled like a knight with swords and armor. Terror. It's worth it. It's so fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, if you want copies, I'll have them in May at the Vernon Comic Con. I know George is actually at the Vancouver Fan Expo this weekend. Although I don't know when this episode drops, but he'll be selling copies at whatever Comic Cons he goes to this year as well. So, and then it'll be in comic book stores. I'm probably going to screw up this. It's either March or April, but I'd have to verify that.
Yeah. Well, I have been dropping your name and the Night Terror name a lot at my local comic book shop. So hopefully you'll get an order from them, because they seemed pretty excited about it when I was telling them about it. So
that'd be awesome. Yeah, you guys published by Resilient Press this spring. I just don't know the specific date, but yeah, it'll be out then officially.
That's sweet. That's super sweet. So if you had any of your other stuff looking at the film treatment, like what do you think would be your favorite story to go to film after Night Terror?
It's impossible. That's the problem. It would be so costly. I had this problem when I first started screenwriting, is I always write too big budget. And so the thing I'd love to see is Hair in All the Wrong Places, like the Werewolf, middle grade series. Many people in reviews commented, "Oh my God, this should be like a Disney Plus series," and it would be so fun. And there's great horror elements to it. There's lots of great coming of age, zero to hero themes. It'd be so cool, but you've also got to have a fair amount of people turning into werewolves, and that's not the cheapest thing to do. So that would be the story I'd want to see, but realistically, I don't know that anything that I write would easily be translated to the screen. To the screen,
yeah. It's a character focused story too, right? So you'd probably want good actors and actresses and stuff.
Yeah, and even if I went for some of the more humorous stuff like Stiltskin or Death the Devil and the Goldfish, again, like it's comedy, and comedy is challenging, and finding actors who have that kind of timing, and there's so many moving parts to that stuff But at the same time, if anybody was like, "Hey, I want the licensing rights to turn that book into a movie," I'd be like, "Go, have at her, do it, do what you will with it. I don't know."
Yeah. No kidding. I had a conversation at one of my signings in Granville with a guy. He bought the book and then he disappeared, and then he came back with his wife, who's apparently a TV exec, and they wanted to know if Cloudbreakers had rights available, and I was like, "Yeah, so far."
That's cool.
But I was honest with him. I told him, I said, "This would never make a good TV series or a movie." I personally think that if the Cloudbreakers stuff ever came out, it would be best as animation, but I'm also biased because that's my background. So
Kenton, don't discourage people. If people are asking, the answer is yes, this would make an amazing TV show and movie. Absolutely.
Just give me money. But I actually want to see it come out. That's the difference.
Okay, that's fair. I'm definitely more like, I'll sell the IP rights, I don't care.
Yeah, it's your problem now.
Exactly. I mean, it's always nice, and you never sell anything without the hope that it gets turned into something. But at the same time, like, I've heard so many stories of people's work getting optioned, their novels getting optioned, and they just get optioned and then re-optioned and then given back and then optioned again, and just never ever get made. It's
they just
amazing.
Sit there in the ether. Yeah. Waiting for the market to accept that it's time for that.
Yeah, or for some producer somewhere to greenlight it, or some money to become available, or a streamer to want this specific thing at this specific time. Like it's such a clouded industry these days.
Oh, for sure. And it's crazy how quickly things change too. Because like in 2014, I was pitching an animation project Bible, and I went to, like DHX Media and Nerdcore Entertainment and a bunch of different studios across Canada. And for the most part, everything came back the same. It was like they didn't want a female lead character. The characters in my story were too old. You know, like fantasy wasn't selling very well in the children's animation medium. And it's like, you look at now and your top animated shows on Netflix are like
Right.
violent superhero stuff like Invincible or like
Yeah.
mage punk like Arcane. So,
Yeah, it's true. Or K-pop Demon Hunters.
yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters. Yeah, my
Which is huge.
nephew's obsessed with that movie.
I still haven't watched it. I kept meaning to after it got nominated a couple times, but I don't like anime. So
Yeah,
I have a real
fair.
hard time with it.
And it's full on anime. Like it goes into that chibi faces and the weird, like, you know, all sorts of stuff, and the humor is very flat. But I will say though that if you can get past all of that, the plot in it is really good, and it is one of the movies where I did get goosebumps from the ending, for like from like how
Really?
they ended it. I was like, ooh, and it landed
Alright.
with me anyway.
Point,
So
at some point, I will give it a shot because it's impossible to ignore. But yeah, I just
yeah,
haven't pulled the trigger on that one. I tried Arcane because my kids tried to sell me on Arcane, and it was there's such a brutal. They're like, you need to watch this. It's amazing. I'm like, okay, I'll give it one episode. I watched one episode. I'm like, it's slow. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous animation.
yeah.
But it's so slow. And like, no, you have to watch the first 3 episodes. I'm like, these are an hour each. Like, these are long episodes. So I watched the first 3 episodes, and I'm like, this is still really slow. Like, it ends with kind of a cliffhanger thing, but I'm like, it took 3 hours to get to this point. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
you have to watch the next episode because then it's like a time. I'm like, no, screw you guys. I'm not watching any more of this show.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I just
honestly, if you just skip the whole first season, go to the second season, it's almost a master class in multi-storytelling, like multi-plot storytelling. I loved it. But
really,
yeah, you were right though. The first season, the first like half of the first season is very slow. It's just all world building and character and background, and then all of a sudden it's just like, boom, where'd that happen? Like,
but gorgeous,
hell?
like such beautiful animation. Like I've never seen anything like it. It's really, really nice.
So stylistic, right?
Yeah, very much so. What was your primary like experience? Because I apologize, I don't know this about you. Did you write animation or did you actually like create animation?
I worked at a studio in Vancouver. I went to school for concept art. I studied concept art. And then later I switched my major to writing for animation. Cool. And I got into that's like, I mean, I'm like you, I wanted to do film back in like the 90s, 1996 and stuff, but I was living in the coast in Vancouver, Victoria area, and there was nothing in BC. There was no Hollywood North back then. Right. So my parents were like, we're not paying that much for you to go to film school. Get a real job.
That's fair.
Fast forward years later, and I started falling in love with the idea of animation in video games and stuff. And so I have a diploma in video game design, and then I have training in commercial concept art design and writing for animation.
Cool, that's neat.
Yeah, that's my background. But I worked for a studio they were called Nerdcore Entertainment in Vancouver, and they did like Max Steel and Monster High and a bunch of properties for Mattel.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
I remember
the primary project I worked on was called Slugterra.
Right, I remember Slugterra too. That's neat.
Yeah, Pokemon with guns.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. It was so that's where I got my IMDb page as a production assistant there, and so gotcha. I was credited in like the first 5 or 6 episodes. And you're watching Disney Plus channel with your kids, or that in the show comes up and you see your name in the credits, and that was my moment.
That's neat. I like it. Yeah, that was a big studio back in the day. Or at least they had some really big properties in I remember they stood out as there was them, and then there was like Bardell, and I forget what the other big one was that was doing Reboot at the time.
Mainframe.
Yeah, Mainframe. They were like the big players down there.
Yeah, it was quite they pioneered it too, like 3D, using computer 3D animation and stuff for short form media. instead of just movies like Pixar, but yeah, no, Nerdcore still exists. It's not called that anymore. I don't know what it's called, but they were bought out by DHX Media, which is like an East Coast company that did like, oh man, it's gapping here. Saved by the Bell, a bunch of shows like that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, but yeah, no, and now I have all this education that I don't use. I just write novels.
What a waste.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny, when I was doing my video game course, of course I excelled at narrative, like video game narrative, right? And the writing part, telling story, which was always fascinating to me, because in games, you don't write a linear story. There's no start, middle, and end. You have to write in pockets, right? So they call it node writing. So it's like the Skyrim thing, giving players agency, but still having a story for them to follow.
Yeah, and having a million side stories for them to follow. I'm playing The Witcher, and it drives me nuts. I'm so irritated by a game that is that freaking long and has so many different things to do. Just irritates me.
It's one of those games where I play it by binging. I binge it for a little bit, and then I set it aside, and then I come back, and then I binge.
That is exactly what I do. I will play it like religiously for like a month, and then I won't touch it for like 10 months. It's just too much.
Yeah, I have 3 games like that I cycle through. It's Skyrim, Fallout 4, and Witcher 3. And then when I don't want to do anything, I'll play, a boring exploration game like No Man's Sky or something like that.
That's so funny. Man.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, because one of my favorite things, like this is something I was really hoping to get out of you here, but one of my favorite things about you is you kind of are living everybody's dream. You've made a career out of story, and that fascinates me, man. Like, I know it took you a very long time, but do you want to talk, like, how did you find the journey?
It was, I mean, I am very fortunate to be doing the kind of stuff that a lot of people would like to do, but it was a while. I mean, I worked in corporate marketing for 20 years. I mean, graduated film school, worked in film, hated film, decided I need to actually make money, and went through a series of jobs. The writing talent that I had naturally transitioned into copywriting, which eventually led to marketing, and that's what I ended up doing first for a post-secondary digital art school, and then I was headhunted and worked for an agency for about 7 or 8 years. And during that time, I was writing novels, and I got my first agent. I worked for a publisher for 5 years, part-time within that time period. I got my first, publishing contracts that had royalties attached to it. No, it's not royalties, sorry, advances attached to it, which was amazing. It was just an interesting learning experience, but it was a slog, dude. I mean, I was already working 40 hours a week. I had 3 young kids at that point. I was writing late into the night because that's the only time I had to write. I published Hair in All the Wrong Places. That got picked up by Scholastic. So that was a big wide distribution. And then I started speaking in schools because of that book. And that led to my whole public speaking, career with that, lives against the backdrop of story, but is now probably it's definitely my primary moneymaker is the speaking gig, more so than the writing is at this point. So, I mean, that's a very truncated version, but yeah, it took a while to build the capacity. And it wasn't until, almost 5 years ago that I quit working in marketing and was like, no, I'm going to make an actual run of this and see if I can turn into a full-time gig. And it took me 2 months. It was stupid, really. I wish I'd done it before. But two months in, I replaced my monthly wage that I was making with the agency, and I was working half the amount of hours and doing something that I, loved. Still had some freelance stuff that I was doing on the side for the extra cash, and most of those have gone now. So now it's just writing creatively and talking about writing and traveling where people pay me to go to talk about storytelling. It's pretty great.
See, and that is the greatest thing ever. Like, you were really the perfect person to bring on for this podcast, because you were the person that gives you hope. You know what I mean? Like, You're a
Yeah, well,
lightning rod, man.
well, I appreciate that, but it's not without its like vast amounts of failures that come with it too. Like
Oh yeah.
there's so many ups and downs to this. There's getting an agent and that agent maybe not working out in the way you hoped. There's getting a publishing contract that's super exciting, and either it releases and does okay, or it doesn't release. I had one contract with a publisher that I got paid in advance for that never saw the light of day. They basically almost practically went under before they'd publish it. And it was edited, it had a cover, it had a release schedule,
Wow.
like it had everything. And that book still hasn't been really. I have the rights back to it now, but it hasn't been released. Like there's so many ups and downs with this career. I'm totally thankful for it, and I love what I do. But yeah, it's really you've kind of got to be okay with the fluidity of it, because
Yeah.
it's not linear in any way.
Yeah. There's a lot of risk for sure. Hey.
Yeah, and I mitigate my risk as much as humanly possible. Like I really did say yes to like everything 5 years ago when I first quit marketing, because I was panicking and needed to needed to build the capacity, but I quickly realized that was not the smartest thing to do. So I'm trying to find a balance to it. I'm still trying to find a good balance to it. I spoke at 26 conferences last year, and that's a stupid amount of conferences. Like,
That was going to be my next question.
yeah, that was too many. So I got 12 or 13 booked this year. And then, yeah, I'm going to try and keep it a little bit more realistic this year.
Yeah. Now, you roam pretty far from home with those too, right?
Yeah, the first I've traveled is down to Mexico, San Miguel de Allende. There was a writing conference there that's fairly prestigious that I spoke at a couple of years ago, twice. And then as an offshoot of that, Art of the Story is another organization in San Miguel, and they run a conference, not a conference, but it's kind of like a collective pop-up arts festival they run every year. And so I've been down there for the last couple of years, and we'll go again this year, but all over the US as well. Been to Wyoming a couple times, to Seattle, to California, Vegas. Yeah, it gets me around. And next year I'll be going to Europe for the Stockholm Writers Festival.
Oh, that'd be a dream. That'd be a dream. I want to try to get to Word on the Street in Toronto. That's my goal for the next, say, 3 years, 5 years, is I want to try to get into Word on the Street.
There's so many good ones and so many good ones you just don't even know about. That's what drives me. I constantly discovering new conferences and festivals that are so good and such beautiful. Like I went to Jackson Hole last year in Wyoming for the Jackson Hole Writers Festival. Gorgeous, tiny little town that feels like it's Yellowstone adjacent, surrounded by gorgeous mountains, and seems almost redneckish in nature, but has the most vibrant, gorgeous arts part of their town. Like the whole arts center is just amazing. And so you just never know. you really don't know about half these conferences, and they're really quite the experience.
Wow. And that's not even including all the conventions and other appearances that you make as well, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I teach classes and courses constantly for different organizations as far as writing and storytelling is concerned. I have a new project underway for teaching that I can't share yet, but that's with Finney and Burnett, with my co-author Finney and Burnett. Bunch of writing projects, new screenplay projects, aside from the co-author stuff I do. There's a lot of stuff that goes with this. It still feels like a hustle in a lot of ways, but it's a hustle that I really enjoy. So I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's, what they say is when you do something you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Mm-mm. It truly doesn't.
No.
I mean, it doesn't mean I don't get burned out by the end of the year. You place me in enough scenarios where there's a lot of people, I will eventually be exhausted. But which is where I was.
Life.
Yeah, my extrovert on demand only runs so far. I'm still an introvert by my nature. So by last November, December, I was dead on my feet. I definitely burned out. So.
Yeah,
still learning.
Yeah,
still learning.
I think that's one of the things I asked you when we were chit-chatting at Enderby last year and stuff too. Is I was like, how do you do it and still find time to write, man? Like,
yeah, in between. always in
Yeah.
between everything else. I mean, you did
Yeah.
a book tour though, right? I mean, that was
I
lengthy.
did. Yeah.
And
I
you
did.
were
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah. With a full-time job and taking care
Yes.
of a hobby farm and my ailing parents. Yeah. I'm definitely the dictionary definition of workaholic, though. I mean, my kids are grown up. They're 25 and 19. So they're adults and they're out on their own. So it's just literally me looking after my parents and a bunch of chickens and a few hives of bees. And then everything else is just unending creativity and work, work, work.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'm never gonna downplay the amount of work that it is because it is a lot of work. And anybody who thinks that it's a matter of just publishing a book and that's it, it's not remotely that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, like if you love this kind of work and this career, it's hugely rewarding in so many different ways.
Oh, it is. It is. And, like the book tour, and thanks for bringing that up because it's a great point, is that, a lot of people at Enderby last year were asking me about it because Enderby and CamCon, which happened on the same weekend, was my last stop on the tour.
Yeah.
And everybody was asking me about it. And it was just like, oh, it was great. But I'd sell 7, 8 books at each signing. And it was so fantastic meeting all these great new people. But the moment the tour ends, so does the energy, right? It was like, all of a sudden, who's Kenton J. Moore? Like, nobody knows who my book sales just plummeted. They dropped right off the cliff as soon as it was over. And it's like, you can't stop. You have to live at that pace for such a long time before the engine starts to feed itself,
Yeah, I mean, and that's the challenge. It's such a weird industry now compared to what it was, a couple decades ago, because you really do have to keep pushing it. It's not the worst thing in the world as soon as you realize that's the reality of it, and it just becomes part of your regular life that you do promote on social media, that you do take the speaking engagements, that you do all those things. And I think, I don't know about you, I feel I always get into the trap of, well, I can't stop. if I do stop, then this all goes away. So I'm always very hesitant and have a little bit of trouble switching off most of the time, because for one thing, I have a very strong aversion to ever going back to a 9 to 5, 40-hour a week job working for somebody. But at the same time, I really do like this and I have a passion for it. So I don't want to see this go away. So I don't know. It's a very driven hustle, I suppose, by a few different motivational factors. And book sales are obviously one of them, but just like you say, being recognized in a lot of ways, or simply remaining relevant for your work is just as important.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the best part ever. I've only been recognized a couple times, once in a white spot in Kamloops, and this people came by and they stopped and took a double take, and they asked me, they're like, "You look really familiar." And I was like, "Do you read?" They're like, "Yeah, that's right. You're the steampunk guy." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's right." And then cool. The second time was at West Edmonton Mall when I did my signing there. My son and I went and bought swords at a store in the opposite end of the mall. And this Filipino kid there was like, "You're the guy that wrote the steampunk book." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." So it's so really cool. That was fun, right? But just like you said, you got that. I'm like, well, how do I put this? I've been doing logistics and supply chain work since 2001. And so, yeah, 20 some odd years, 9 to 5, all that kind of stuff. And you kind of, I'm dreaming for the day where I can write full time, because I took a week off last year for a quote unquote retreat. And I wrote like 10,000 words a day in the 7 days I was off. And I was like, I proved to myself what I can do if I was writing full time. And I dream for that day. But that being said, it takes so much effort and time to build enough of a platform to bring that kind of money in that you can do those things. It's wild. It's wild. And, you know, like people need to be prepared for that. So I'm also prepared for the fact that I might never be able to. And that's okay too. I'll retire someday. Then I can
Yeah,
write.
there is that. I mean, I feel like I have angled my career's been unexpected. I really did just expect to write books, and that was kind of my thing. And then, you know, the screenplay stuff is still relatively quite new, but that's an exciting thing that I didn't think I'd ever return to. But the most shocking part of all of this was really the public speaking, because I never wanted it. I never expected it. If, you know, 13-year-old me could see me, they'd be mortified by the fact that I do this, because this was not my strong suit. But it's crazy how many hours a week I spend either story coaching on consults, teaching classes or courses, or speaking in front of, you know, audience of hundreds of people at conferences. That's not the career I expected, or was looking for. But I will thoroughly admit now, and it's taken me a long time to admit it, I'm thoroughly addicted to it. Like
Yeah.
I chase the applause. I love a crowd reaction. I love a captive audience. I really do enjoy it, and I don't know what part of me psychologically drives that, but it's definitely a part of me.
Well, you know, I got to say though, having, you know, shared the stage with you and watched you do some things, and I've seen some of your keynote speeches and videos online. I'm shocked to hear you say that you never expected it or wanted it, because man, you were such a natural.
I appreciate that, but man, I was the kid at the front of class who would like turn like fluorescent red out of embarrassment and stutter over my words and not be able to command a crowd in the slightest. It was purely because I was made to do it in marketing for a job for a little while, and I hated it. Having to speak in front of high school kids was the audience for that particular gig. And then it was such a different feeling when I did the same thing, speaking in front of school-age kids, but I was talking about writing instead of whatever bullshit I was talking about when I was doing marketing. And it was such a different experience. Like the reaction was different, and the confidence in what I was talking about was different. And then the more I've learned, and the more I've, you know, educated myself, and, you know, met amazing other creative people, it's just developed and developed. And then now you can throw me in front of an audience with no preparation, and I will talk.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you put a microphone in my hand, I will do it. I prefer to be prepared, but yeah, I can wing it these days. It's so different, and
Yeah.
unexpected and lucrative. I always say that I spend more time talking about writing than I do writing, because it pays better. So true. So true.
That's great. It's cool too. Yeah. Cause I'm the same. I'm the same way. If I can get up in front of people and I can talk about, you know, writing or art or story or my experiences, without an issue. I have no notes when I go do these kind of things. I used to sing for a band. Like I used to be a lead singer for a band, and we just did cover stuff. And I was just like, no problem. I could go up and sing in front of audiences, and it wasn't an issue. Their energy fed me. But the first time I went to an open mic where there was like 12 people in a quiet coffee house, and I was reading my own work, I was like in tears. I was just shaking. It was so nerve wracking, but it passed in no time, and now no problem. No problem.
Yeah, you get used to it. All the authors who always ask me about how do you stand up there and talk about it, it's really practice. Like if you don't put yourself up there and try, you're really never going to know, and you're never going to get any better. It's not like you can practice this. Well, you can practice it, but it's not the same thing. You can stand in front of the mirror and you can recite and you can read your work, and you can work on your body language and your stance and your delivery and, you know, all those things. But unless you actually stick yourself out there to try it, you really never know, and you only get better at it by doing it. So I always encourage authors to, you know, try public readings. Like it's going to be awkward and weird the first time. You'll get used to it, and you'll totally learn to love it. Like it is something that gets better with time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, we're getting to the end of our time here. So I have my little segment that I always do at the end. I call it one more question, and I get to ask you a silly kind of throw you for a loop question.
Give,
And
give,
given our
give you.
friendship, yeah, you're ready. You know it's coming.
I'm ready. Give you your best shot. Let's do
me.
this.
You dare me.
I did.
All right, here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, going back to your work, The Hair in All the Wrong Places. If it was to be ever made into a movie, where would you put the hair in the right place?
I thought it was going to be about casting or something like that. You went in a weird area. The right place. So this is the juxtaposition of that book. Hair in All the Wrong Places is obviously meant to be a funny title, but it's wrong because he grows it all over his body. Hair in all the right places would just be you and me, dude. Like wherever we have the hair is where it's meant to be.
That's a PG answer, man.
That was such a safe answer. I played it very, very safe. It is still a middle grade series.
Yeah, I gotta lean heavy into Andrew's sense of humor here. So
No, it's pretty solid. It was a solid time. You know, I managed to get those books into the hands of Nicolas Cage like 6 or 7 years ago. I never heard from him. Yeah, he was shooting. I was working in an office building in Kelowna, and they had rented the downstairs office to be the green room because he was shooting on the street for like 2 days. And I snuck down and I broke into the office and left my books in there with a note for Nicolas Cage.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Well, I thought he played a good, like, there's a mentor character in those books who's like an older grizzly werewolf, and Nicolas Cage brings like such craziness to everything he does that I'm like, man, he'd be perfect for that role.
Do you okay, now you just gave me a segue. Do you, when you write characters in your books, do you think of real life people when you're writing them?
No, not most of the time. I realistically do not. Like, it's always a fabrication. I mean, there's always like, you know, bits and pieces, as I'm sure you do, of people's personality that you know or have met, but I never really picture anybody that I know or anybody well known or anything like that. It's always pretty unique in my brain.
Interesting. For you and for everybody who's listening, when and if you've read my book Clawbreaker's Valen, the villain Kettrick Whitehall is Ryan Reynolds. I wrote it to be Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, I did. I thought of his mannerisms, his way of speaking, his ability to flip from like cat-like charisma to like simmering fury in a moment. Like I wrote that role for him because I just thought he'd make such a good villain, like a sleazy villain. Yeah. So
I wish he'd play a villain. I wish he'd play a psychopath. I'd love to see him play like a really like actually clinically crazy person because I think he'd do a really good job with it.
Yeah, right. Like, what was the movie with Jim Carrey? Was it 23? The one where he just went nuts?
Oh yeah, where he was super weird.
And Robin Williams was amazing too in like
photo. What
1 hour photo?
1 hour photo, and then he was a serial killer. Insomnia. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was Al Pacino with him, right?
That was Pacino. Yeah, that was a good. That was a good, creepy, like slow burn movie. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like the atmosphere of it. See, I'm a movie nerd too.
You are indeed.
So, Andrew, for anybody that wants to follow you and learn more about your stuff, what's the best way to find you in the cyber webs?
All roads lead to my website. So andrewbuckleyauthor.com gives you the links to all my books, to my social media, to the Story-Centric podcast. Best place to follow me online is realistically Instagram, because that's where most of my updates go these days. If you want to check out side projects, deadlydinnerparties.com is my murder mystery package brand. And there will be something new coming up, which again, I can't share, but that'll be on the socials and on my website sometime in the next month or so.
Ooh, follow, learn more about Andrew. All right, and that brings us to the wrap of another episode of More About Storytelling. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed what you heard today. Please follow Andrew, look him up on socials, support his work. He is definitely one to know. So, go out and do that. Pick up a copy of Night Terror, the comic, the graphic novel. It's fantastic. You'll like it, I promise. It gave me some laughs. It was good. As always, if you're interested in being a guest on my show, please visit my website, www.kentonjmoore.com. Go to the contacts page and fill out the form. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do and why you would like to be on my show. That includes people who are painters, artists, musicians, filmmakers, video game designers, and just generally cool people who enjoy storytelling in all of its forms. If you're a bookstagrammer, I want to hear from you. If you publish books, I want to hear from you. If you're an agent, I would love to speak to you, not just for the podcast, but hey. Anyway, check me out on Kickstarter, support the Peregrine Cloudbreakers Book 2 campaign launching April 1st, and we will see you next week for more about storytelling.
Fade to black. The end.